Well, hello everyone. It's Daniel Stoneman here, Director of Explore Careers. Thanks for joining the executive series of the podcast series. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Tony Johnson, who is the CEO of EY Australia. Thanks for joining us today, Tony.
Thanks, Daniel. Great to be here.
Now, look, EY is a big company, a big global organisation. Obviously, a very well-known brand amongst students throughout Australia. But there's still, I guess, a bit of a preconception, a misconception about what you do. You know, a lot of people look at EY and think accounting firm, but we know it's a much bigger beast and obviously a vast array of career opportunities. Perhaps you can, shed some light on what the EY Australia business looks like today.
Yeah, sure, Daniel. And you're right. We have expanded dramatically over the past 20, 30 years, 30 years that I've been with the firm. So we refer to ourselves as a professional services firm, and that picks up on assurance and tax services, and they might be seen as somewhat of the traditional services that we've provided. But in addition to that, there's transaction, strategy, technology, broad business consulting to our clients. Now, clients could be individuals, companies, or the public sector, where 300,000 people around the world, about 8,000 in Australia, which is the area that I look after.
Wow. And I guess, speaking to our audiences, career advisors, students, parents, going back a few years, being back at school, do you remember what you did at school and perhaps maybe any ideas on perhaps maybe what you wanted to be when you left school?
Yeah, I grew up and went to school in country Victoria, a place called Sale, about 200 kilometres east of Melbourne. Population of around 15,000 people. I loved the basic things in life. I loved playing sport. I enjoyed school. In those days, it was very math science sort of focused if you were going to go through school. So I certainly didn't do any accounting, commerce, economics at school, and really had little idea of what I was going to do. It was actually a career advisor probably right towards the end of the year said, I can imagine you doing commerce. And I had to ask, what is commerce? And he sort of described what it was. And I said, well, does it involve maths? Because I quite enjoyed maths. He said it does. And I guess that started a bit of a journey to university in Melbourne, where I did study commerce, but in particular economics, accounting, maths and finance. And I guess perhaps career went from there in terms of completing study to be a chartered accountant and then doing other study in finance and business, including an MBA.
Now, obviously, there's so many opportunities for young people today. There's social media, people want to be entrepreneurs, run their own business. How essential do you see today university and TAFE for young people in their career development?
I think it really depends, Daniel, on what you want to do and what your interests are. But I'm a big believer in continuing to learn, and uni and TAFE are both great ways to help make sure you keep growing your skills and stretching yourself so that you achieve your full potential. Look, there's no doubt that some people will achieve their full potential without uni and TAFE, but I'm sort of reminded when I started at EY as a graduate, and my first boss, who was a really, really old person, he was about 30 years old, he suggested to me that I needed to do my CV or my resume and that I should do it every 6 months. And I thought, this is going to be the shortest ever career at EY. But at the heart of it, he was stressing to me the importance of continuing to learn, and his proxy for learning was to make sure you could add something new to your CV. And he kind of went further to say that if you couldn't add anything to your CV from the past 6 months of work and you couldn't foresee you're going to add anything in the next 6 months, you should make a change. So I really think that was great advice. And so every 6 months since then, I've done my CV, not always writing it down, but reflecting on it. What have I learned in the past 6 months? And through good luck or good management, for the past 30 years, I've learned something every 6 months, whether it be technical or industry related to client work, might be strategy related or softer skills like emotional intelligence, coaching or leadership. So to me, the key is to keep learning, and uni and TAFE are great ways of doing that.
Right. And I think, as you said, have a mentor and as you said, the 30-year-old at the time who would have seen like a bit of a dinosaur, look at your CV, look at it every 6 months and look how you can improve yourself is obviously very important. When you look at that CV, do you remember what your first job you put on that CV was?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the first ones made it to the CV, but I mentioned I grew up in the country. My first jobs were helping out on farms, either hay carting in summer or with general rouseabouting in a shearing shed. Then I had a job in the local Woolworths supermarket, either packing bags, collecting shopping trolleys, or working in the deli or fruit and veg sections. So I suspect the Woolies one, perhaps not so much the farmhand ones, might have made it to the CV. And then through uni, it was the standard hospitality jobs and on to EY.
Well, I guess as you said, so working on obviously on the farms as a farm hand, then obviously going through to university and doing the jobs you did there. Now, obviously being the chief executive of EY, that's a big journey. What did that journey look like? So from obviously farmhand to university, to some jobs in between, to now running one of the biggest global businesses in the world. Was that, first of all, what did that journey look like? And then second part of that, is this something that you always had aspirations to be, a CEO of a large corporate business like EY?
Yeah, well, maybe it's the second part first, but there certainly wasn't a plan. It sort of built on each other. My family wasn't a business-oriented family. Business wasn't discussed around the table. There's probably been a history of either farming or trades throughout the family. But I guess after school, I studied economics and accounting at uni, and then during uni, I found out that there was these big 8 accounting firms. Now, as we've mentioned, mergers have changed that. This professional services firm, it's the big 4, but these big 8 accounting firms, they offered vacation work during the summer break, and that meant staying in Melbourne rather than returning to Sale for the summer break. But now, what I should say here is that it was, I saw it as a great chance to start and build my career. But truthfully, working in one of the big 8 firms sounded a lot easier than carting hay in 40-degree heat. So I applied, and EY offered me a role, which I took up at the end of second year of uni. And I was then offered a role for when I finished as a graduate, and I've been here ever since. I completed the CA program to become a chartered accountant. And I guess I've always had the chance to learn something new, working here and overseas, including a year or so in London, with different clients, different industries, mainly for me, financial services sector, so banks, insurance companies, asset managers. In London, it was focusing on the Lloyd's of London insurance market. And I also learned a lot from some of the turbulent economic times, like the property crash of the 90s, the dot-com boom of the 2000s, the global financial crisis, and then, of course, COVID-19. All along, I've got to understand more about clients' businesses and also more about our business, so the business of EY. And I've definitely got to learn more about myself. I really liked and still like working with clients and with the people of EY. I kept mentioning learning new skills, but it's a theme that's just going to come back up and again. I got promoted through the ranks. I became a partner. I led different parts of the business. And then in late 2014 was announced as CEO. And I just really loved the variety of the work, working in teams with great people, a chance to make an impact, a chance to travel and work internationally, and then fundamentally, a chance to keep learning.
So obviously being with the business, well, that's one hell of a resume, and you would need to be going back to it every 6 months just to realise everything that you've been involved in. Quite extraordinary. And I guess, as you said, being in the business for over 30 years, how have you seen, I guess, the EY business evolve? From obviously coming through the, I guess, summer internship type of programs to now obviously being chief executive.
Yeah, it's been massive, the change, but we work obviously within the society and the business environment that we're in. I'm going to age myself here, but it goes way back. I can remember telex machines, which preceded fax machines, which preceded mobile phones, laptops, etc. So it's that digital and technology element has been massive, the growth in that area. And to be honest, it's made our jobs so much easier, I think more interesting as well. At the same time, we've had clients, their demands, their problems, their issues have been more complex, more demanding, and that's been the reason why we've built so many skills beyond perhaps the traditional tax and audit skills, because clients wanted end-to-end solutions. They didn't just want a report to land on the desk with no idea of how to implement it, and so we've gone down that path in a big way. When I came through, it was very much accounting, finance, tax graduates. We've now moved pretty significantly to STEM graduates, people with STEM skills. Over 30% of our grads have STEM skills, and more of our lateral hires have STEM related skills as well. And then perhaps I'd throw in just the global aspect. Even our practice, it was very much a Melbourne practice going back 30 years ago. It then moved to an Australian practice, a global practice, an Asia practice, as again the needs of our clients changed, and you had to match up with their needs right around the globe.
And you touch on their graduates. So I know one of the early entry points into EY is obviously through the graduate program, and very successful, and always right up there as one of the best graduate programs in Australia. How do you see, graduates and the opportunities for graduates over the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
I still think it's very, very strong, and a bit of a call out. Firms like EY, I think they're a great spot for people to start their careers, particularly if you're not certain where you're going to end up. You get a lot of investment in your learning and in the technology to help you do your work. As I mentioned, the chance to work globally, etc. So the roles are still going to be there. The client demands are still going to be there. Yeah, definitely a first-year graduate in 2025 is going to be doing things a lot differently than the way I did it. But as I said earlier, I think it's, if I can call it, a lot of the mundane, perhaps not all that cerebrally taxing roles have been really taken out and enabled by technology. So we've got still really strong demand for great people, for graduates, people that can team, for people that can collaborate, people that are curious. And I don't think that'll change, because there's still great demand for our work. We take a lot of economics graduates to work in our infrastructure practice, our strategy practice. Clearly, the different elements of our technology practice, from cyber to data analytics, our actuarial practice. There really is a role, I think, for people from so many backgrounds and experiences to join, and then to have a great career going forward.
Absolutely. And how should students, because obviously there's going to be many students out there that'll be listening to this going, EY is absolutely the type of business I want to get involved in. They're leaving school, going to go to university, choosing those particular subjects to get into the business. Or they're going to be, graduates are about to leave and are looking to get a placement. How should students be preparing, and what should they be thinking about now in terms of, the best way of applying, things they should be doing outside of maybe what they're studying to be, a best place to get a role with EY?
Yeah, I think fundamental is keep thinking about what you enjoy doing, what interests you, and where do you like spending your time. Be curious, curious is an element we look for in our grads, but be curious and ask questions about different jobs and roles that you see people have. Find out whether that might be a fit for you. I've got a bit of a saying that options have value, and I'm not talking about complex financial instruments. I'm talking about creating as many alternatives and possibilities that you can. And one of the best ways of doing that is do the best you can at school, because that'll give you more choices when you want to explore, or when you've worked out what you want to do. So, continuing on that learning path is really important. We really look for, and more so, demonstrating some of the skills. So, show us that you can team, show us that you can collaborate, show us that you've got energy, enthusiasm, and the courage to lead. I don't think you can't start early enough, and that's not meant to suggest you need to be applying for jobs straight away. I don't mean that. But really just starting that thinking process. It's a journey, and maybe I didn't say at the outset, or maybe I did. I had no idea what I was going to do at the end of year 12, and probably at the end of university. So just keep building your experiences so that you've got as many options, which you may call on at a point in time.
Absolutely. One of the biggest topics that we get, we survey and speak to schools and students really on a weekly basis across Australia. And one of the key things that when they're looking for a future employer is, the social impact side of it. In everyday life, more and more students are interested in social impact, what organisations are doing, and especially in terms of when they're looking at a future employer about what type of social impact that organisation has. So how important is it, that sense of purpose to you and your organisation?
It is fundamental. Absolutely key. Now, our purpose is to build a better working world, and I see my job is really to enable all our activities, all our behaviours, all our tasks to be aligned with building a better working world. And that means adding long-term value to our people, to our clients and our communities. Now, everyone's going to have a different personal purpose, but the intention is you align your personal purpose with the collective purpose of, in this case, building a better working world. Now, for me, mine is fairness of opportunity regardless of people's gender, their education, their life experiences. That's what's really important to me. So my job, and I spend a lot of my time, is aligning or helping people understand their personal purpose and how they align it to the collective purpose. On the impact side, we've made a commitment. One of our commitments to long-term value for communities is to impact or add long-term value and impact 1 billion lives by 2030. And now we're well on the track, well on our way to do so through a lot of the programs we have in place, whether it be mentoring school programs, whether it be helping entrepreneurs. There's many and varied. But the why that you come to work, you referred to earlier, what's the differences? When I started work, it was just tell me what and how to do something. That's not enough now. People have got to understand the why of doing something, and that is the purpose, if you like, the guiding star for how the organisation runs and how people behave and act within it.
Absolutely. And I guess there's so many options for young people at the moment. There's organisations and startups that are coming to the market. Particular industries and organisations are booming and are very, very attractive to young people, especially when you look at professional services. There are a number of different businesses that I guess are also looking to occupy the minds of these young people. Why should, I guess, young people be considering EY as a future employer?
Yeah, look, I touched on a couple of elements, but if you want to work with great people on challenging projects with super interesting clients, that's one pretty good start. Lots of investment in your learning and in the technology, chance to work globally. I think the variety of roles and the progression you get to build your hard skills and your soft skills are really important. But calling them out, I think it's our purpose, which we've just touched on, and our culture. You've got to fit in and belong, and your behaviours have got to fit with the overall organisation. And I think our culture differentiates us. It is based on integrity. It's based on respect, teaming, and inclusiveness. It's on having the energy and the enthusiasm, the courage to lead, to build relationships by doing the right thing. And so we do say that no matter when you join EY or how long you stay, the exceptional EY performance will last a lifetime. So you've certainly got to cover off what I call the fundamentals, the hard things, but then for me, it's purpose and culture.
And why is it so important for EY to be engaging with schools? Obviously, our whole audience is a school market, from students from Year 9 through to Year 12 throughout Australia. Why is EY in the school market, and why are they finding it so important that they're in there educating them before they leave the school environment?
Fundamental to our business is having great people, clever people that can team, that can collaborate, that are curious. And, to be honest, we don't have great clients unless we've got great people. And the demands are continually changing, as I mentioned, of our clients. They're becoming more demanding. And that means accessing and recruiting, developing the best people is so important for us. And the sooner we can start explaining to people what we do, so it's an option for them. We obviously can't force anyone to work at EY, but we want people to have the full awareness of what we do, how we operate, why we operate. It's fundamental. So it's really important for us to be engaging with people in the community, and particularly at schools, because they're the future of our business.
Absolutely. And I guess, this time at the moment, we're obviously through Corona, and we know students have had a really tough time in terms of obviously their schooling, but also in terms of obviously they're in the midst of their exams. Any final tips for students who are listening to this today about their exams, or potentially where they can end up in the future?
Look, one of the really important things that that is important now and going forward will be your resilience and your vitality. That means goes to your physical health and your mental health as well. So really understand yourself, develop the plans and tools that help you manage through this exam period and beyond. Don't lose sight of success in year 12 doesn't mean success in life. And let me put it the other way more significantly, that not doing as well as you thought you might in year 12 doesn't mean you won't do as well in life as you would like. It's a stepping stone. Maybe it's one of those pieces of an option, but keep everything in balance as much as you can. I realise the stress and pressures involved, but enjoy what you do and keep in search of the things that you enjoy doing.
I think that's a great bit of advice. I think one of the biggest issues young people today is the pressure. The feeling of, if I don't do well at the end of year 12, then that's me done. I'm not going to be able to go and do the things I thought I ordinarily could do. So they have that pressure, they have that burden, and they do compete against their friends and how they're going, and have I got into the university course I wanted to, or did I get into university at all? So I think that's a great bit of advice. And I think if your students out there that are listening to this, you've probably now got a much better understanding about EY as a business, more than just the accounting firm, professional services, and all the different areas that you can get involved in. Obviously, if you want to find out more about EY and what a future career can look like for you at EY, you can obviously jump onto the Explore Careers website and go to the EY profile, and it has everything that you need to know about a future career within the business, the different entry points into the business, how to prepare, videos, webinars, everything to help prepare for you to get into the business over the next few years. So I'd like to thank Tony for joining obviously the podcast today, and we wish him and his team all the very best for the remainder of the year. Thanks again for joining us today, Tony.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for your time.
Cheers.